companies such as Honeywell, KPET Technologies, and currently is working for EDAC. So I would request Mr. Mushabbar Hussain to please start the session.
Hello, everybody. Thanks, Rahid Bhai, for the introduction. Thank you very much. So, so if everybody is there in the call, then we get started? No?
Yes, please.
All right. Let me share my screen. Just give me a minute for those applications. I'll be just facing some problem with sharing the screen. Can you just assist, help me here? I'm just.
I think there is something called a share screen.
Yeah, share screen I clicked, and then I went to the screen.
Maybe Saib is the host. Maybe he can make you the host.
There is something. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Share screen. But I can see that, this is. Can you just let me know if something you're able to see?
Saib, can you please?
I can see your presentation.
Yeah, now we can see your presentation.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
All right. So, is everybody able to see my screen?
Yes, we are able to see.
Okay, then. We'll get started then. So this presentation has been circulated to you. This is about automotive cybersecurity. We'll discuss about how modern cars are susceptible to attacks and why they need cyber protection. So this is the theme of this presentation. The brief agenda is like this. As I've been told, the audience is kind of mixed. Some of them are students, some of them are looking for a job, just completed this graduation, and some of them are professionals. So I think for some of the people who are experienced, maybe the first initial few slides may just be a kind of refresher. Just gone a little bit of introduction about the cybersecurity, and then I go on and discuss more on automotive cybersecurity aspects. Yeah. So to begin with, talk about introduction to cybersecurity. What is cybersecurity in general terms? Then digital revolution in automotive domains. How the cars, how are the cars in the earlier days, in the olden days, and how they are today. And then cyber attacks on automotive systems. This discusses various potential attacks that can be launched on an automotive system, and what kind of impact that can have on the connected cars in case the attack materializes. And then we discuss briefly about how a connected car can be hacked. What are the means by which an hacker can get access to a car, and then can hack it. Then what is the need for securing automotive systems? So in this topic, we discuss about the impact to the OEMs, the manufacturers of the vehicles, and also the impact to the actual passengers of the car. Then we move on to the securing the automotive systems. Discuss briefly about the secure automotive platform, how exactly it can be, how do we protect the in-vehicle security systems, and how we protect the onboard network security. Because if you look at a connected car, it's there are a number of parameters. One is the in-vehicle network security itself. The in-vehicle, there are a number of systems which need to be protected, and also there is a number of outboard systems which is outside of the car, and that needs also a cyber protection. So in the entire realm has to be considered. And item number 7, we'll discuss about the automotive use cases, the predominant use cases or the important use cases, which you will find almost in every OEMs tech. Then one of the important use cases is the software signing process, which I just picked for this presentation because of the time we have. Of course, we can't cover all of them. It's a whole lot of things to be covered. So I just picked up this one of the most common. I think most of you would be aware of this as well a little bit. Software signing process, and which includes also secure flashing and secure boot. So we'll look at how a secure flashing is implemented in automotive system and how a secure boot works. And then we will discuss the software component in the automotive that implements this process, which is a secure bootloader. So we'll look at a generic architecture of a secure bootloader, what kind of interfaces it has got, and what kind of features a bootloader would support. Yeah. And finally, just a brief on some of the technical papers on automotive cybersecurity, which were published by me, and some patents which recently I have published, which have been submitted for and then finally we have a Q&A session. So this is the agenda. Okay, now let's get started with the introduction to cybersecurity. So I'll briefly start with what is information security. I think this, as I said, is a very basic definition of security. So information security involves a set of mechanisms, policies, and procedures to protect information from unauthorized or inappropriate access, unlawful use, disclosures, modifications, deletion, and tampering. So this is the basic definition. Yeah, okay, so it's all about protecting the data from unauthorized use, tampering, deletion, and getting access to it, and misusing it. So that's that's the information security goal of security. So what is the primary goal of information security? There are about 3 important parameters that are considered. Apart from this, there are a few more. That's kind of not. I will not be covering those. Just the primary important ones here. So one is protect confidentiality, maintain integrity, and assure availability. So protect confidentiality. What is confidentiality? So protecting sensitive data from unauthorized disclosures, unauthorized use, unauthorized access. Example, personal identification information such as social security numbers, your credit card numbers, health records, company financial records, complete trade secrets, etc. So this element of security is about protecting, let's say, information which you don't want the other people to have access to, okay, which is completely private to you or to the companies, and this needs to be completely protected from outside access because of various reasons. So which includes your passwords, like things like your passwords, your credit card numbers, because if somebody gets a credit card, you can imagine what they can do with it. And then the health records and so many other stuff you can imagine. Yeah. So that's about that. Confidentiality is about protecting all this data so that nobody can access it. What are the protection methods? I think the most commonly used method is encryption. But yes, of course, encryption is not enough, and you also go with authentication of data as well. So you need to ensure both the data is not corrupted and encrypted, so that people are not able to read it out, even if they get access to it. And then you also need to make sure that authenticity or the integrity of data is not compromised. So a combination of crypto techniques will be used to protect the confidentiality of the data on a computer system or on an embedded system or an automatic system. Yeah. And maintain integrity. Integrity refers to the accuracy and consistency of data over its lifetime. Maintaining integrity is about protecting data from unauthorized accidental modifications while in process, during a transit, and at rest. So integrity element is important. Let's say when the data need not be confidential in nature, okay? But however, you would want to make sure that the data is not tampered with. Okay, that's very important. So in such scenarios, you need to apply integrity mechanisms to protect the data. So here, when I say modifications, it could be both unauthorized modifications or accidental modifications. That is the idea behind integrity protection. So there could be a number of assets which we'll see in next slides. Certain data in an automated system or in a computer system, it needs integrity protections, and they need not be confidentiality part. Let's say, for example, on a computer system, you have a software, okay, and it's a binary format, and you might just want integrity protection for that. You would, because somebody getting access to it is not a concern, but you don't want definitely it to be corrupted, unauthorized in ways or in accidental ways. And in automated systems, there are a number of things like calibration files. You have certificates, public certificates. Even the public certificates are data which is open to everybody, which is known to everybody. But nevertheless, we want to make sure that these important and critical security artifacts are not corrupted by anybody. So we employ a number of techniques for that. We have hardware-based mechanisms to protect the data, like make it OTP, one-time programmable memory, so that corruption of data is not possible. And there are both hardware and software mechanisms for ensuring integrity. So now coming to the cryptographic mechanisms, protection mechanisms. CRC is a very basic. Just I mentioned here, so that you guys can have a relation to what hash is. Then we have hash, which is more predominantly used in today's automotive world. Hashing is a mechanism where you data could be hashed to produce a signature, a small fingerprint. You can, as you just imagine, which can then be used to associate the data with hash signature. So that's the method here, software method. And then assure availability. Availability is about making the information available to not authorized users when needed. So this is about making the data available to users whenever they need it. Yeah. This involves protecting computer systems and that stores and processes the information from malware, worms, and protecting communication channels, preventing service disruptions due to power outage, hardware failures. So there could be a number of cyber attacks to make the systems unavailable. For example, somebody could launch a DOS attack, okay, denial of service attack on a server, let's say on a banking server, to make it completely unavailable from the users. So let's imagine, if the data, if you have a bank, if you need urgently to access the bank account and the server is down, and then no operations, completely, no transactions can happen. So like this, similarly in the car as well, that if you look at today's cars, there will be a number of interactions with the backend servers, with the cloud, with various other infrastructure outside of the car. And if you really want to, if your hackers want to really disrupt this entire ecosystem, then probably they can just, launch a DOS attack on the servers. And in such a case, the car will not be able to get the information, critical information, if it needs. So that's where the whole issue is. So this is a similar thing in any ID attack as well, just a kind of relationship you can imagine. So what are the protection mechanisms here? We have firewalls, intrusion detection systems, and then network monitoring to detect abnormal traffic. So we have firewalls at the first level to identify if there is any kind of malicious traffic on the network, which is something abnormal. And we have an IDPS systems which will continuously monitor the rate of flow of data on a computer system. They monitor the communication channels. They make sure that the rate of flow of traffic is not above the normal level, because the moment the input data or the data that's coming in system goes beyond certain level, the systems will get completely blocked. They can get completely freezed. So there will be some threshold based on that. Algorithms defined IDPS systems will monitor the communication channels, will monitor the traffic on the systems, and if it crosses the threshold, it can either block that node or it takes some actions as decided by the manufacturers. That's the way IDPS works, and network monitoring to detect abnormal traffic. So IDPS, another important functionality of IDPS is logging those incidents. First is, let's say if there is a heavy load on the system, with abnormal load, and it would log an incident, and then it will notify the servers or the kind of monitoring units, saying that there is some abnormal traffic happening, and they can take a corrective action for that. So that is IDPS systems. Yeah, so these are the three important elements of information security. I'll just give a pause here. You can just have a look at it, and any questions you can ask me. Any questions from anybody so far? If not, I will just move to the next slide. Or if you feel that I need to reduce the pace a bit, please let me know.
Could you please reiterate about CRC and hash in maintain integrity?
CRC basically is a checksum. You must have heard of a checksum, right? So in your college courses, or basically the CRC method was introduced in the very early days, which is meant to detect any unintentional or accidental modification of data, right? So that is a CRC checksum. However, these checksums are not good enough to prevent accidental, unauthorized modifications. Somebody who's intentionally trying to modify the data, it is not good enough to prevent those. So what they do is, let's say you are transmitting a message, a huge message from one point A to point B, okay? And if you just compute a CRC, it's very easy to replace, let's say you have data 1 and CRC 1. It's very easy for somebody to actually put data 2 and you can get the same CRC in place. It's very easy. It's not that difficult. That's the way the CRC works. However, so somebody wants to really tamper with the data, or do some unauthorized modifications, they can simply do this. They can replace data 1 with data 2, and the CRC will be still the same. It will work. Now, hash, what happens in hash is it's much more sophisticated. Hash is hashing. It's called hashing of a data. So there are algorithms such as SHA-1 and SHA-2, SHA-1 and SHA-2, SHA-256. You can to be more precise. So these algorithms, what they do, if you have a data with you, let's say 1 kilobyte of data or 1 MB or whatever size, you can actually produce a fingerprint of the data. It produces a fixed size 256. In case of SHA-256, it produces a 256 bit of data as an output, 32 bytes of data as an output. So this data, it's very, very difficult for you to replace. Let's say you applied data 1 on the hash algorithm, and you got an output of hash 1. It's very difficult for you to replace data 1 with another data 2 and get the same output. Yeah, that's hashing. So hash will give you a kind of fingerprint or a signature of data. And you cannot, replace the data 1 with another data 2 and expect to get the same answer.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I don't know whether I'm fully able to explain it. Yeah, but I think if you just you can ask me offline. Maybe if you can just Google, and it's a very common crypto algorithm which is predominantly used. But you can just come back to me if you have any questions later.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Yeah, I'll go to the next slide then. So now let's see what a cyber attack is. So cyber attack is a security incident in which sensitive, protected, or confidential data is copied, transmitted, viewed, stolen, or used by unauthorized persons. So that is a simple definition of a cyber attack. So wherein, as we discussed, let's say you have confidential data, sensitive data, So a cyber attack is about getting an access to it, or getting an access to your computer system, manipulating it, corrupting the data, or extracting the data out of it and misusing it, which is definitely done by unauthorized persons. So that's the cyber attack. So some examples of security breaches includes malicious attackers getting unauthorized access to financial assets, such as credit cards, bank details, etc. Anonymous persons gaining physical access to company premises by compromising the access systems. Then redirecting customers to unknown sites to gain access to their login credentials. So these are some of the examples. In the first case, let's say malicious attackers getting access to getting unauthorized access to financial assets. So that's definitely a breach, right? So if somebody gets, let's say, access to credit cards or bank details, your confidential login credentials and things like that, then they can carry on some unauthorized transactions on your account. So other thing could be let's say anonymous persons getting physical access to companies. So that's why we have this access control systems on companies. You just have access card and you present and you get into it. So the physical access systems, they protect the premises with that access cards, right? So that's another way where attack can be launched. Somebody can kind of duplicate the card and get into the office and carry on some unauthorized activities. Then redirecting the customers to unknown sites. This, I think, you probably, if somebody is able to produce, it happens like look and feel you produce similar to website, bank website, and then they try to get access to the customer credentials, and they make use of it to do some illegal transactions. So all these are examples of security breaches. There are much more than this. Just a few examples. Then what is cybersecurity? So cybersecurity can be defined as the protection of systems, networks, and data in cyberspace. Yeah, so this is cybersecurity involves protection of systems. Systems could be your computer systems, your embedded systems, and physical systems. Also, cybersecurity is more to do not with physical systems, but more to do with the computer-based systems. Your networks also needs protection, and data in cyberspace. So networks involves both in vehicle networks or outside networks like LAN and WAN. Both internal networks and outside networks needs that protection. Okay, and all the data in cyberspace. So the data in cyberspace example could be whatever you're storing in the cloud, you're storing on the backend servers and outboard systems like your testers, etc. So all that's part of the data, okay, which could be stored outboard the systems. That's cybersecurity. And what is objective automotive cybersecurity? So let's look at what is automotive cybersecurity. So this is about protecting the modern cars and their functions from cyber threats, protecting critical assets of the car. First is the primary goal is to protect the modern cars as a whole. And then if you look at a little more detail, what exactly this means is it involves protecting the software on the cars, the hardware components in the cars, the in-vehicle networks, and the data on the car. The data could be a configuration data, the calibration data. The calibration data is like some ECU or vehicle-specific information is put in that, and let's say you have a left-hand drive or right-hand drive, or various such parameters. Depending on regions, they have different settings for different regions, and for each car, they enable certain features. So all this is done with the calibration files and configuration files. And the cars, if you see the cars, they have a number of debug ports on them. Like OBD is one of the most commonly used port, which is accessible from outside the vehicle. So cybersecurity, automotive cybersecurity is a kind of production of all this softwares in the car, the hardware components. You have some mechanisms like tamper protection, hardware which is involved, like somebody is trying to forcefully take out certain hardware components. Then there will be some mechanisms to actually wipe off the data so that the confidential data doesn't land in unauthorized hands. So all that components should be protected. Then implement robust, reliable, and proven security controls utilizing standard crypto functions to make the car more safe and more secure. and it involves implementing robust, reliable, and highly secure security controls, which uses standard cryptographic functions. So cryptographic functions, as you know, now it is the world is completely into standardized crypto functions, which are based on the NIST and the FIPS, as compared to earlier days where OEMs or the other software suppliers used to develop their own proprietary algorithms, where the security was just based on the secrecy of the algorithms, which is no longer the case. I mean, that's it's very easily breakable. So now there are more sophisticated algorithms, which we'll see in the next slides, which are employed by the OEMs to, or it's very similar to the IT industry. I think as per the security controls or the crypto functions, all that is very similar to the IT industry. The only ways is the only difference being that the way it is implemented in the automotive world. Because if you look at the IT world, it's it has got a huge resources. Like for example, you have big computers with high-speed computers. You have a lot of memory. You have a lot of such infrastructure issues are not there with laptops. So you can do all that. You have a lot of luxury in terms of resources, computer speed, processor speed, the memory, and other RAM, etc. But whereas in embedded systems, you have a constant resources. Hence, the way you implement a certain functionality in an automated system will be quite different from the IT world. Yeah, that's the difference here. But however, if you see at the very basic level, the security functions, more or less, and security mechanisms, you have a very parallel between these two things, these two, techniques. Okay, so I just pause for a minute. Any questions? Let me know.
I have one question. Like, in automotive, mostly we will be using the CAN protocol, right? So in the CAN, now we have a new concept called as CAN FD. So in that CAN FD, we have secured PDUs. Secured PDUs and unsecured PDUs. So are you going to elaborate such examples, like how that communication is happening right from the transmission of that particular PDU till, and after that, what is the next level of process happening, like the secured freshness value calculation and then the authorization of the certificates?
No, I'm not going into the detailed levels of secrecy here. That's not this presentation is a system level, you can say, right? Okay, it just talks about the high level cybersecurity concepts on automatic systems, and we are not really going into the details of each of these mechanisms, how exactly they're implemented. Let's say, like you said, the AutoSAR based secrecy, right? Secure PDU and secure PDU, how they are processed and refreshed. These are all secrecy concepts, isn't it? Yeah. So that I'm not going definitely in this presentation. It's due to the lack of time. I just said in the beginning that I just picked up one of the use case which is most predominantly used in the automotive industry, which is software signing. So in that particular use case, I will discuss a bit in detail about the various mechanisms, various controls, and kind of crypto algorithms that would be used. But I'm not covering, unfortunately, the secrecy here in this in today's session.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. All right. And no other questions. I'll move on to the next slide. Okay. Digital revolution in the automotive industry. So this is, I think you guys can understand this in just reading this. So classic cars, there are more of a mechanical parts, if you can imagine, right? They're just completely disconnected from the outside world. Yeah, they were closed systems, fully mechanical, no interaction within the system and also outside the system. Very simple systems, hence no cyber issues, no cyber threats, no vulnerabilities with respect to cybersecurity. That was how it was earlier days. Life was much simpler. Yeah, connected cars. Now people wanted to be connected while they are traveling, while on the move, while everywhere, wherever they are. That's how the world is going now. So even while they are moving, the people wanted to be connected to the world. They wanted internet connectivity, and they wanted more comfort. They wanted more luxury in the cars. That's where the modern cars got so much sophisticated. And then there is a cost for that. So it became highly complex firstly, and then they became highly connected systems, because you need a number of let's say now you have over the air. And now earlier days, if there was a problem in the car, let's say one of these firmware got corrupted, you have to go to the workshop to get that software updated. But now it's there is a SOTA, right? Software over the air update mechanisms. So everything happens over the air. You just don't need to go anywhere to the garage or somewhere. So that's where it becomes highly connected. Not only for SOTA, there are a number of other applications where the car on the move would connect to a cloud and to get some configuration data, get signals from the infrastructure. For example, if you see navigation systems, they get inputs from the they pick up the speed on the road. Not necessarily important in India, but if you look at the European and US market, the speeds are very important. The moment you cross the speed, you get a ticket. You have to pay. So that speed concept is very important here. So they can pick up the speed and then display to the user, this is the speed and this is what your speed is. So there are a number of interactions with the outside world. There is interaction with the other cars. Hence, it becomes highly connected, sophisticated and software intensive. Highly sophisticated and software intensive because now every function of the car is software controlled. Let's say you have got ADAS systems, you've got a powertrain, you've got a airbag, everything, every small little thing in the car is software controlled. Hence the number of lines of code on a vehicle is increasing and increasing. They're very increasing. In a typical car, you can find about 80 microcontrollers, or much more than that. With more functionalities, it might go up. So at least you would find 60 to 80 in all the modern cars, and they have millions of lines of code running on them. So the more the code, the more the vulnerabilities, the more cyber attacks are possible on them. So that's how the cars of today are. So this slide, I will just briefly talk about the security attacks. Just a high-level classification, if you like. So you can classify them at a very high level into passive attacks and active attacks. So passive attacks involves traffic analysis, eavesdropping, monitoring of transmissions. So passive attacks not necessarily cause any harm to the system. This is the first step, to launching a actual attack. So in this step, what the hacker would do is they will analyze, or they will capture the data which is going on the bus, and they will start analyzing what it is. Let's say if somebody applies a brake, a message is sent from one ECU to the other ECU. Okay, there will be a braking ECU, and there could be actual place where the brakes are applied. So actually, a message flows, not a mechanical part. So and the other ECU, then a chassis ECU would apply the brakes. So these messages are captured. For example, opening of a brake, or unlocking a system, unlocking a car, for example, all this all through control through messages, right? So in the passive attacks, all these the hackers would firstly get access to the system, and they will try to analyze the various messages that are flowing on system, and they'll try to analyze, they'll try to associate these messages to various types of functionalities. So that's the first, it need not be harmful to the car at that level, but it is going to be harmful in later. That's the passive attacks. And the second is active attacks, where an attack is launched by a hacker on the system, and it can result in various issues to the car. So those includes modification of messages. I think just the brother was talking about psychos, the secure communication part, right? So this is about that's where you use psychosy to protect the messages, flowing between the ECUs, flowing between the vehicles, and flowing between the target systems. The target means like a tester and the ECU, for example. So this is the modification of messages. Hackers can modify the messages and can make the car to not to function the way it has to function. And there can be denial of service attacks, which I just described a few minutes ago. Is about flooding the system with the loads of messages and making it completely unavailable to the authorized users. That's a denial of service attack. And then we have replay attack. Replay attack is, let's say, for example, a car is moving. Then let's say I know what the message is to apply a brake to the car, and I capture that message. And when the car is going at a very high speed, now imagine if I send them the same message back to the car without the driver knowing what's happening. So you can imagine what happens that time. Right? That's a replay attack. So you just capture the message and send it at a time when the car is really not expecting that to come, and it can really cause havoc to the system. And non-repudiation. Non-repudiation is about let's say it's about somebody is signing on your behalf a check. Let's say if you sign a check and if you give it to the bank and draws money, somebody draws money, you draw money, and later you can't go and tell to the bank that no, this is not my signature because it's your sign. So this is like somebody does an operation intentionally, and then they go back and say, no, this is not my work. I'm not done this. So in such cases, we have this non-repudiation mechanism where if you have done an operation, it's yours. You need to own it. So that's the concept here, and that I think it's covered in the signatures and the certificates. Actually cover that aspects of non-repudiation. Then spoofing and impersonation. Impersonation is about masking your identity. You're trying to mask yourself and trying to prove that you're somebody else. That's about impersonation. And then carrying out certain attacks on certain activities on the car or on the system. You have brute force attack, which is about brute force is attack to let's say unlock a system. For example, guessing attack. For example, you have a system and you don't know the password. You want to enter in the system and you don't know the password. What do? You just keep on guessing the passwords. So that's a brute force attack. This could happen either manually, but nowadays it's all automated. So you will try to create some system will try to create some different passwords, continuously keep trying, and then finally you might get into system. So that's a brute force attack. So nowadays, since the two systems communicate, let's say the target system will expect a hardware, password, and just keep on guessing. One day you might succeed. So that's a brute force attack. Man in the middle attack. This is similar to here. This is somebody monitoring a system and trying to extract the messages and then trying to impersonate and then send messages to the other system and making him believe that he's talking to a genuine user. Then side channel attacks. Side channel attacks are mostly internal attacks. It's side channel attacks are not very straightforward. Basically, when to give an example, when a crypto algorithm runs on a system, it produces a lot of intermediate data while it runs on the system. So this intermediate data can lead to some clues about the way the algorithms are designed. So somebody, even though doesn't have a knowledge of what algorithms, actual algorithms are used and what keys are used, basically it's not the algorithm, but the keys. So they can, when they look at the intermediate steps, they get a lot of information, which can then be used to guess the keys. So this is side channel attacks. Then you have fault injections, injecting some malicious messages in systems, things like that. Then you have unauthorized devices. Unauthorized devices like having a third-party rogue devices connected to system. Which can then cause a lot of malfunction in the system. So there is a lot of attacks where you just introduce your own devices on system and then they get connected to the ecosystem, and then it can influence system. They can influence the system to make some wrong decisions. Such kind of activities can happen. So this is the high-level overview of various attacks, passive and active. And then let's look at the various threats. All these attacks can result in can have an impact, huge impact on the automated systems. So if you modify the messages, then in force traffic, introducing force traffic into the vehicle network using wireless protocols, then breaking anti-theft systems such as central locking, immobilizers. This is again by, as I said, guessing the passwords, guessing the keys, etc. Somebody can try to get access to the systems. Then mileage counter manipulations, eavesdropping and sending spoof messages, corruption of rewritable flash memory by gaining access to the ECU, for example, a physical access, or it could be, let's say, somebody they can just get an access over the air as well, and they can write a software to corrupt the memory. It is also possible. Then execution of unauthorized commands. Let's say, for example, you get an access, as I discussed, you get access to different kind of messages like applying brakes, and then replay it. So this is the execution of unauthorized commands. Then downloading of malicious applications. This is one of the most critical threat to the IT embedded systems in general. So where you could download a malicious application and then you can have it entire system corrupted, or you can just wipe off, or you can make the system completely malfunction. So this is the one, as I said, software signing covers the topic. Then gaining illegal access to vehicle networks, example, controlling the acceleration and brakes. Yeah. Then this can happen over the year, as we can see in the next slides. How it is done, I will explain that. Somebody can connect to the systems over the air, and they can take control of the car, yeah, and then make it to malfunction completely. Then you have connecting third-party devices to the vehicles to circumvent security controls, launch a DOS attack, which I discussed, I think, a few minutes ago, and exploiting known software vulnerabilities. So there are a number of, as I said, as the code number of lines of code increases, software increases in systems, it becomes more and more vulnerable. So you have more and more, loopholes and which unknown things which the hackers can exploit. Heartbleed attack is one of the very infamous things which happened in the IT industry recently. So hackers they just keep looking for vulnerabilities and they launch an attack. So this is about the various attacks. I mean, this is not, of course, everything, but I think I've covered most of it here. So any questions, please raise a hand.
There is one point called downloading of malicious applications into the ECU. So you can just explain this point, please.
This is, in a very simple term. Let's say you have a computer. You would have experienced, right? If you connect to the internet and download an application, and you just click yes, accept, and download. Let's say that application happens to be a malicious firmware or a malicious software. What happens to your computer? You might have experienced that.
Yeah.
So
right.
that's exactly what I mean by downloading a malicious application. So in normal IT systems, in a computer systems at home, somebody connects to internet. They say, okay, you want to download, you download, and unknowingly you download. Then your entire system is corrupted, right? Then you will have to format the system and install the new OS onto it. So similarly here, on a car or an embedded device or on your mobile phone, somebody could download a malicious application and they can do whatever they want to do with it. For example, they can just upload your confidential data out of the mobile and send it to the outside world, to whomever they want to. Or they can simply, you might have seen, mobile phones, they can just, if you install unauthorized applications, they just send SMS to various users and your bill just shoots up like anything. They can do a number of things, whatever you can imagine.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll move on to the next slide then. No further questions. I think you can. I think yeah, it's a lot of information, but you can just go through it offline and yeah. But anyway, I think this gives some idea about the various attacks that are possible on automated system and what kind of attacks and what kind of impact it can have. That's the whole message here. All right, so next slide. Yeah, in this slide, I just briefly explained those attacks. You can just read through it. which I just talked now about it. So you can just briefly read through it on your own, and just let me know. This is just an information slide, you can see. Yes, I just pause it for a minute here. You just read through. So I'll move to the next slide if you guys have read through it.
Here it is written as email spoofing, right? So
yeah.
One example is provided out here. So can you just tell me, I mean, how the fraudsters will change the address, like from fraudster@cybercrime.com, but it will be visible as billgates@microsoft.com. So how this will be done, I mean, by the attacker?
That how they do it is, I think I'm not an IT expert, but what I know is that when you send an email, there is a header in it. Okay, yes. The header contains the source IP address. I mean the email address. So even though they are sending it from a different IP address, they actually modify that low-level header of the message, and that's how this reads. This gets read as billgates@microsoft.com in your inbox.
Okay, so
it's not necessarily that you are sending it from the Microsoft account.
Okay.
That's what I said. This is my understanding. I mean, I'm not an IT expert, but okay. This is the way it works. They modify they take the TCP/IP packet, and you change the header in the email, and put whatever you want in that, and then you send. And to the other end, it appears, just like this billgates@microsoft.com or whatever you want, you can put there to deceive them.
Yeah.
Okay, no further questions. I then move to the next slide. Okay, next we look at how a connected car can be hacked. Right, so a connected car can be hacked in two ways. In a very simple terms. One is the direct attack, physical attack, which is called, and other is the remote access over the vehicle network. To the vehicle network. So the first one is direct access, which means to launch an attack, a hacker needs to have access to the physical access, in-person access to the car, wherein he can connect, let's say, to the debug ports, and then he can connect his own system, his own target system to it, and then either send some malicious messages or download a firmware into it, malicious firmware into it, or he can get access to the ECU flash, internal flash, and can corrupt those messages or corrupt the firmware, etc. This is a direct physical attack, which is of less concern because this will not cause with this attack, he can actually attack just one car. He can actually corrupt only one car. And however, the remote access is the one which is most dangerous. The reason being that if a remote access is possible, if the techniques are learned how to access a vehicle remotely, and let's say, and then if you're able to get access to the ECU vehicle resources, ECU, let's say now, then in that case, what is possible is a mass hacking. If you can do it for one car, then you can do it for all the other cars of the same model year or the same, which belongs to the same OEM. At the same variants, so you can hack a number of cars by doing this. This is where it is more, sensitive and it is more dangerous. That's where the automotive industry is worried about. Okay, and it's trying to put all the measures to make sure that the remote cyber attacks are completely stopped to the maximum extent possible. Okay, so how can a direct physical access be launched? That's via various doors and windows in the car, which is OBD port, which I think the most common access point to the car, where they will, if you take the car to the service center, they just connect to the OBD port and they do some diagnostics, they download firmwares, collect data out of the car and things like that. And apart from this, there are other internal ports on the car, such as the JTAG port, UART port, XCP port. I think all the guys on the mashallah, on the call are all automotive professionals, so they know what it is. JTAG port. It's a very low level thing which you can connect and you can get access, full access to the unrestricted access to all the memory resources on ECU. Yeah, and then you have the XCP ports as well, calibration for calibration purposes, etc. And if you get access to these ports, and imagine if they are not protected with cyber controls, then hackers can simply connect to it. They can download whatever they want. They can corrupt the memory, and they can do whatever almost absolutely what they want to do with it. Then you have digital ports, USB ports, iPod and iPhone docking ports, etc. Infotainment systems on the car, through which you can access the other ECUs. That because as I said before, the cars of today are highly interconnected. Every system talks to any other system. That's a kind of vulnerability now. Because if you can access an infotainment system, which is easily accessible as it connects to the outside world, and if you can just physically connect to it, then there is a possibility you can send messages to the other ECUs as well, because of the interconnectivity nature of the cars today. So that's the way you can do a direct physical attack. Now, coming to the remote access to the in-vehicle network, there are a number of vectors here, which via these vectors you can actually launch remote access on the car. So the vectors are telematic units. This is one of the most popular one, because this is the TCU or the ECU on the car, which connects to the outside world. It's a connecting point to the outside world, you can say. So a number of things, like all the softwares actually get pushed from the cloud to the vehicle via this TCU. Number of configuration data, and it connects to the various clouds and backends, etc. So let's say, for example, if you want to renew a key, it all happens through this TCU, because that's the point, the connecting point to the car. Then you have infotainment systems. Even these have a number of interfaces, and then access to external interfaces. And as I said, there could be a number of interfaces apart from this, and then unprotected debug ports, over the firmware upgrades, insecure communication channels. So all these interfaces, etc. The moment you expose the interfaces to the outside world, then that's a vulnerability. And over the firmware upgrades. So if you don't protect your firmware downloads with proper security mechanisms, then hackers can be easily able to download their own malicious firmware into the cars. So these are all the various ways by which a remote attack can be launched on a vehicle. Any questions on this slide? I think it's pretty straightforward. So I'll just move to the next one. Okay, what is the need for securing automotive systems? This is important, I think, to the OEMs. Definitely, it does. I put this with the OEMs in mind, this particular slide, highlighting the need for cybersecurity. Because if you see today, some of the OEMs are a little bit slow in implementing cybersecurity, and some are really, for example, BMW, and they are really very fast, and they are quite advanced in cybersecurity. But some of them are just sit and watch kind of step they take, and they're just a little bit slow. So However, this is what the impact is. So modern vehicles, as I explained, highly complex systems, software intensive and highly interactive systems. And they're highly connected systems to the internet with the infrastructure, and which then makes them highly vulnerable to security attacks. Then after getting access to the TCU or the vehicle in general, what hackers can do? They can huge amount of sensitive data is getting transmitted over insecure communication channels, which makes these vehicles easy targets for attacks. Access to receive critical risk data over unprotected ports. So if you look at the today's car, most of the cars will not have this ports protection. The ports are mostly just available, easy access. Anybody can just connect to the ports and they can access data. That's one of the biggest vulnerability which anybody can exploit. The send spoof messages to the control safety critical functions like steering, brakes, airbags, locking and unlocking. This happens because if your communication channels are not protected with secure communication mechanisms such as security, for example, which has got which checks for both authenticity of the messages and also looks for the this replay attacks with the timestamp or kind of refresh counters. So that's the secure communication, which will make sure that hacker cannot replay the same message again. So if all these things are not implemented, then it's easy to get access to the car, and they can send their own messages, and they can cause the safety critical systems to malfunction. And then finally, last but not least, important one is the download of malicious applications into the ECU. So this is just briefly, this is what I've written here. This is what they can do. Hackers can do. But they can do much more than this. There are a lot of unknown vulnerabilities and unknown things, which as the advances in technologies happen, there could be more sophisticated ways of hacking the car, and they could exploit a lot of software vulnerabilities in the system, buffer overflows, for example, and such kind of attacks can be launched. So these are the vulnerabilities at a high level. And what is the impact to OEM? A successful cyber attack can result in disclosure of sensitive data, and then financial losses to the OEMs. So how financial losses? Let's say a cyber attack happens, then it's a huge cost for the OEMs. Now they need to go for a forensic investigation to figure out what was the attack, what kind of attack was launched, what are the implications to the car. And they have to, then the moment it is confirmed that it was a cyber attack and there is a vulnerability in system which can be exploited by the hackers, then they need to go and they need to find a fix for it, and they have to make a recall of all the vehicles, which would then be a huge dollars or millions of dollars for the OEMs to recall the vehicles and upload the new firmware software, for example. So legal consequences due to the breach: if this data is accidentally or deliberately compromised, OEMs can face fines and regulatory actions. So because a vehicle can contain a number of confidential information in it, which is about the owners, about other entities, for example, and this was supposed to be the confidentiality was supposed to be ensured by the OEMs. But if they are not insured, then they can be up to huge fines for this because of the laws and regulations from various companies and regions. The impact to business: loss of credibility, losing customers because of this. It's a huge impact to the business as well. And then you have endanger the safety of humans in the car. So last but not the least, and most important one is the safety, threat to life for the people sitting in the car. Yeah. So all the above concerns necessitate use of robust security measures using crypto mechanisms, to protect sensitive data from unauthorized access and manipulation. So these are the, I think these are good enough pointers here, which necessitates the use of cybersecurity in automotive systems. Okay. Any questions here about the need for securing automated systems? All right, I'll just move to the next slide. Okay, this is a four-layer security architecture you must have seen in a few places already. This one, some of you must have already seen. So basically, what they do is they define a multi-layer security system to make the security system more robust, because you can't ensure 100% security in a car. Not only in the car, in any system, there are definitely ways that can be circumvented. There could be new ways which can circumvent the existing systems, and they can launch an attack. However, as a security professional, your aim should be to make the hacker's life as difficult as possible, and try to ensure that the systems cannot be easily compromised. And really, if he has to really break the system, then he has to really put a huge amount of effort, and that should be the goal of the security professional. Make it as hard as possible to the hackers to be able to get access to the cars. So with that in mind, we have a 4-layer architecture in mind. In place here. One is secure interfaces. See, the first thing is you to getting an access to the car is your interfaces, right? So on the car, you have a number of Wi-Fi interfaces, wireless interfaces. That's the most vulnerable point, which is remote access Wi-Fi. For example, you have a DSRC connection, you have a GPRS connectivity, for example, and other wireless communications to the outside world. So these ports need to be protected. It needs to be ensured that any communication with to the outside world, the clients are authenticated, and the communication is secured. So there are certain various well-defined mechanisms to ensure that the authentication of clients are done in a very secure manner, and then the entire communication channels are protected into it. So this is a secure interfaces. Then you have a secure gateway. So secure gateway is a domain isolation unit. It's a firewall. It has got a firewall mostly on its secure access. So if you look at the gateway on a vehicle, it separates the core ECUs from the outside world. So the core ECUs below it could be chassis, the powertrain, and the other critical ECUs. So those are all small ECUs, but they perform some very critical functionalities. So all these ECUs are completely isolated or cut off from the outside world, and that is because they have a gateway in between. So the gateway communicates with TCUs and other infotainment devices and gets all the information, authenticates, and then it passes the information to the in-vehicle network, which is behind the gateway. So that's where you are protecting the, by isolating the, the critical ECUs from the outside world. You are via the gateway. So you make sure that the ECUs, the core ECUs are protected and the core functionalities are not, disrupted. And that's why you need to have a very you need to have a gateway which is highly secure, with all this cybersecurity functionalities implemented on it. Yeah, and then you have a secure in-vehicle network, which covers in-vehicle network covers things like IDPS, SECOC, which is secure onboard communication, device identity, things like that. So this is about making sure that your in-vehicle networks are highly secure, because there are a number of as we discussed, there is a number of communications between the ECUs, inter-ECU communication, and which needs to be protected, because that's also a vulnerable point. Yeah. So, and there are other aspects like IDPS, where let's say if an attack is being detected, you log those incidents inside each of the ECUs, then you're able to collect it and analyze the data, what kind of attack happened, things like that. And then you have secure ECU. Secure ECU is at the ECU level. You implement security functions such as secure flashing, secure boot, you secure diagnostics, secure coding, and you perform threat analysis on this particular ECU to make sure that the system is completely secure from external attacks. Yeah, and there are also many more other things like flash data security, which will ensure that the hackers will not be able to, even if they are able to access the flash ECU flash via the debug port, they'll not be able to corrupt the memory. There are various mechanisms in place, and there are mechanisms to protect the security artifacts. For example, the most important ones are the keys, because if the key is compromised, then the entire security system is compromised. And certificates and other ECU specific data will be there in the car. All this needs to be protected. So the secure ECU concept will cover all those controls on the car. So this is what at a high level secure architecture would look like, but I think it's again, OEM's way of designing the systems, which again differs from OEMs to OEM. It's just a generic architecture. Okay, I assume it's clear. Then I move to the next slide. So now we'll look at a secure automotive platform. Just give me a minute, please. Screen here. Yeah, this is better. Okay, so just an example of a secure automotive platform. Here I have covered a number of topics here. If you see, so I'll start with the first one: secure download, and the most famous one: secure flashing of a bootloader, application calibration files, etc. So this is one of the important aspects to prevent malicious download. Then you have a secure boot, which is to check the authenticity or the integrity of data at every boot time. To make sure that the software running on the ECU are authentic and the integrity is protected. Then you have secure access and secure storage. In these mechanisms, you make sure that the confidential data, such as the keys, the logs, the software images, the configuration and calibration data are stored securely in the computer systems or in the ECUs. You have secure communication mechanisms, which is V2X communication, vehicle to access, vehicle to infrastructure, vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to grid, and various other things. Then you have a SecOC, MACsec, IPsec, which are the various security controls to secure the communication between the two entities. Then you have secure diagnostics, authentication of targets, debug port protection. So secure diagnostics is about firstly, when you're performing a secure, for diagnostics on a car or on a system, you definitely connect an external device to it, external a laptop or a server, etc. To get data access to the system and then collect some data out of it and then perform some diagnosis. So in this case, secure diagnosis involves authenticating the targets. And now there is a recently introduced by the automotive world. We have a certificate-based authentication called Service 27, Service 29. Yeah, so which is a much more sophisticated way of unlocking the ECUs as compared to the this traditional 27 service, which is challenge response-based protocol. Then we have IDPS systems to protect the networks and firewalls, which you can use to monitor and drop off the unauthorized messages. And importantly, we have a concept here, hardware-based security. If you look at the ID systems, I think most of them would have a software-based crypto running on them because they have the luxury of the infrastructure. They have a high-speed processors, a lot of huge amount of RAM, huge amount of flash, etc. But whereas in embedded systems, that luxury is not there. And as you know, the crypto algorithms are highly computation intensive. They take a lot of time. So the HSMs, the two advantages you get HSMs, hardware-based security, is one is high speed. They run the crypto algorithms at a very high speed because they are like independent processors on the ECUs, and they provide a very secure environment for storing the keys and certificates. Yeah, so they practically theoretically, practically it's possible. Theoretically, at least, it's very hard to get access to the silicon on the HSM and extract the keys. Yeah, since this automotives just move on the car, right? You can imagine all the embedded systems, they could be somewhere plugged in on the road or somewhere. So even the cars now, they move on the road. They're not inside a secure environment as compared to your PCs. Servers could be sitting inside a secure environment. So that's where it's the security is paramount here, and you need to have much more advanced mechanisms to protect the keys and certificates. And I think if you see most of the ECUs today which have a cybersecurity protection on them, they will definitely have HSMs. And then key management, the most important topic here, because if the keys are compromised, then entire system is compromised. Then there are then there has to be a proper security key management systems within ECUs, within the OEMs, to define how the keys are generated securely, how they are distributed, how they are used, and how they are deleted after the use is completed. Then theft protection, immobilizers, then machine security. Machine security is about hardware security, physical attacks, tamper protection, fail securely, and things like that. And cybersecurity best practices. This includes TARA, threat assessment and risk management techniques, threat modeling, secure manufacturing processes. So all this is part of cybersecurity. It's not just writing a few lines of code using some crypto algorithms. It's about the processes. It's about the entire infrastructure. It's about protecting the ECUs inside the car and also making sure the infrastructure outside the car, which is communicating with the ECUs, with the vehicles, are secure. And then even the process of like secure manufacturing process. This is another critical aspects where huge amounts of data, the keys, the security artifacts are getting installed in the vehicles. And assume that, and imagine if this gets compromised, then the whole fleet will get compromised. So this is another important area which needs a deep study, and because every OEMs have their own manufacturing processes, their own manufacturing plants. The way they do it is different. It's not a standard mechanism, the way they do it. So it's quite different from OEM to OEM, and they need to think about techniques and mechanisms and processes to make sure that the entire images are confidentially securely transferred, the keys are securely distributed without leaking any of the information, certificates are transferred from the backend servers, and how they are transferred securely to the ECUs. All that, there is a lot of things in this manufacturing process itself. And then finally, you have this, automotive security standardization. And there are a number of standard bodies for automotive systems, which define various standards, which do a lot of study, and they come up with the concepts. And like, for example, AutoSAR, I think everybody knows that. AutoSAR defines a platform for the software development for automotive systems, and they also include cybersecurity in that. You have CSM, CRI, and incident logging, and various other stuff. And then you have EVITA, which was there for the HSMs. They have something like EVITA low, EVITA medium, and EVITA high, which defines various security levels for the HSM. Then you have HIS, which is an older one, kind of consortium between, I think, Volkswagen and a couple of other, I think BMW and things like that. A couple of European OEMs, they got together and defined some security standards. Then you have NHTSA from the US, and then car-to-car consortium, which is again, I guess, in US, so in Germany, I guess. So I think there are a lot of consortiums. Most of them are running in Europe, and to define standard ways of protecting the automotive systems. So I've covered a number of things here, most of it, but I think each of them, needs a detailed understanding, and itself is one complete. If you look at the OEMs, the way they work, there are teams who really do only secure bootloader. For example, in KPIT, there is a team only, secure bootloader team. There is a big team there sitting. They just do development of bootloaders, and then the other team looking in security aspects of it. Similarly, secure communication. There could be another big department who would work on secure communication aspects, how to implement a SecOC, and I think one of the brother was talking about SecOC, and look how this secure PDUs and PDUs, etc. So all that interfaces, the SecOC keys, how they generate, how to distribute, how to communicate, etc. So that's another area of study. And security diagnostics. This is another big thing. I mean, if you look at, I think if some of you are working in automotive companies, you'd know this is a new initiative which has recently been published in ISO 14229, Service 29, which is a service certificate-based authentication method. Though it appears simple, but the the complexities involved in overall infrastructure, from generating the certificate, distributing certificates in the manufacturing, the factory, and then in the manufacturing plant, commissioning those certificates. It's a huge work. It's 3 to 4 years work, I would say, just this particular feature, right? And it involves a huge amount of software to implement this security diagnostics. So that's another area. Then IDPS, HSM is another area. HSM's constantly micro vendors are working on enhancing the HSM capabilities. Initial days were like only symmetric algorithms were supported in the earlier days of HSM with just AES-128 and CMAC and the TRNG. And now they are coming up with more advanced asymmetric crypto algorithms such as RSA-2048, and much bigger key lengths, 3072 and things like that. And they're supporting ECC algorithm, which is supposed to be more sophisticated and got a small key size, but gives a securities level of higher than RSA-2048. That's again supported because it's more suitable for embedded systems. And key management, there are, as I said, it's all differs from OEM to OEM. So all these things are individual, you can say individual concepts where there are departments, who really work on them. It's not just one small topic. Yeah, so there are a number of opportunities if you see in cybersecurity itself. So any questions here?
Hussain bhai, I mean, how are the opportunities for people who are in testing in this different topics which you spoke about, like secure diagnostics and all these things? Can you please throw some light on that?
So the question is, what kind of opportunities you have? Is that right?
Yeah. With respect to development as well as with respect to testing.
Yeah, it's all. It's not just. It's a combination of all. So basically, it starts with the concept. See, for example, secure diagnostics. What happens is first an idea comes out. Let's say now, why security? What is the need for security diagnostics? So for the OEM to start some concept, okay, there has to be a need for it, and somebody has to justify to the OEMs that that this is really essential and for what reason. The other way they will be forced to do it is, for example, if a regulation comes out from the government or from the regions, for example, the European regions, that these are the mandatory functionalities that you have to implement, then there is no other option for them. They have to implement it. So there are two ways. One is, as I said, the OEMs themselves realize that yes, this is the security control in order to address vulnerabilities, whatever vulnerabilities which that comes out from the TARA, and then they stop the concept. Now let's say security diagnostics. Why is it important? Let me explain to you. If you look at this, the way the cars are unlocked today, which is done by the Service 27, right? Which is simple challenge response protocol. And what they do, they just they have one key defined, the key generated, and that key is distributed to all the testers in the world. And the same keys are getting embedded in all the ECUs. Now, there is a high chance these keys get compromised. And imagine just if it happens that in one of the cars, if this key is getting compromised, then the whole fleet is compromised. You can just take that key and you can unlock any of these cars of that particular fleet. So now, that was the biggest vulnerability which was known to the OEMs, but they didn't take any action. But now they realize that yes, this is the time we need to go for it, and we need to protect these ports. Then they went for security diagnostics. Then it starts with that there is a concept study which normally goes to 6 to 8 months, maybe 1 year, and then which is mostly happening at the OEM side. That's another opportunity. So they have a very number of cyber security professionals who would perform a TARA, who perform a threat assessment, would clearly bring out what kind of threats and what kind of vulnerabilities and what kind of impact that can have on the system. So that's another, that's an opportunity. That's again, they need a big team for doing that, right? After this is done, then what is the next step? Once you have the specs defined, once you have the process defined, you have the concept defined, then the next step is implementing it. Then they go for a tier 2 company let's say, for example, KPIT or Vector or some other, and then from tier 1 to tier 2 it goes, of course, just jumping the concept here. So then they go and they give the specs. They say, okay, I want this to be implemented on this use. So then on the tier 2, they need a number of guys. One is coders, automotive developers, and some again with a cybersecurity background who implement this concept. Then again, you companies need people there who has this knowledge and who can test it. And then once the implementation is over, again you need a testing team to be able to test it, because even the testing is a very important area. You have things like pen testing, fuzz testing, and functional testing, cybersecurity functional testing. Even if you want to do that, is the first level of testing is a functional testing, which is to test the system, whether the system is functioning as it is expected to do. And wherein you probably you test the happy cases and the rainy day cases, where in a normal good scenario everything would work fine, and then you will feed some wrong data and incorrect data to it, and you will check that the system is able to detect the incorrect data and then flash error to the users, right? So this is the functional testing, and even here they need a team. They need a testing professional who has that background of cybersecurity. And then you have pen testing. Pen testing is another big area on its own, where they try to probe each of these diagnostic ports, which I just discussed, like for example, the OBD port or JTAG port, XCP port, and other UART ports, etc., which is existing on the issues. And even though there are some protections, they will try to circumvent them. They will try to bypass those protections, and they'll see if there are ways by which we can bypass and can we get access to the ECU resources? Can we corrupt it? So this is another big area, pen testing itself. And then they try to introduce a load-on system, and they will try to see if the system becomes unstable. Does it freeze? Does it become completely unfunctional? So all those aspects, which is not a normal tester's job, basically. And they'll try to do a remote attack. So this is another area of, in cybersecurity, pen testing and fuzz testing. The fuzz testing is about injecting some incorrect or completely haphazard random messages into the ECUs, and observe what would be the behavior, how would the ECU react to it. As a developer, when you develop a piece of code, your software should be able to handle any garbage data, right? It should be able to handle the normal data. Of course, that's normal expected functionality. And any data, garbage data, if it comes in, it should be able to gracefully handle it and throw it off. That's the expected functionality. It should not crash. But if you see developers, right? We are all from the community, so people miss those cases, and if somebody feeds in the wrong data, incorrect data on system, and they crash, they completely they get freezed. So there are various such cases, and which gets detected with the pen testing and fuzz testing. And companies, OEMs, in fact invest huge amount of money to after the development is over and before development is done, to carry out pen testing and fuzz testing, and they give the report. Okay, your system has got these many vulnerabilities, and you need to fix all of them. They give some solutions as well, and then OEMs go for implementation, and they hire they give it to the tier 2 company like KPIT, etc., and they implement. And after the implementation is done, they again go for a pen testing, and they say to the same team, okay, now you guys test it and tell us if these vulnerabilities are fixed or not. As we know, again, some of them might be fixed and a few might still not be fixed. Again, they come up with some more reports, and finally, once the OEMs are happy to proceed, then they go for the market release. So that's the way. So you have opportunities right from the OEMs concept level, implement as a developer. There are a number of opportunities, and in the testing area, a number of opportunities. And of course, there are teams like who just do Tara part. You may not be a core automotive professional. You may not have all the crypto understanding to do Tara. You just need to have system level understanding. To be domain understanding is what is needed here, and then cybersecurity, some good background, if not the code level or the crypto level, etc. So that's how it is. If you just I just gave you one example, and you have got so many examples listed down on the screen here. So here's a huge market, and I'll tell you from my experience in here in UK. companies are struggling. I mean, why should I go to UK? I mean, let me talk about Indian market here. We started the project, as you know, Sahid bhai, secure bootloader. So we looked for 6 to 8 months to get one developer with cybersecurity background. We could not find one guy, and we had to continue with the same team. And you know, it's really there's a big scarcity of cybersecurity professionals, especially combination of cybersecurity and automotive and embedded. This combination is needed. See, you can't get an IT guy, IT professional. I mean, IT means a computer guy with this non-automotive background, and you can't get him into this automotive world and ask him to implement it. He'll not be able to do it because that background is needed here, who can think from the auto perspective. Yeah, so this is important aspect that we need to remember. The huge market for this, and especially in Europe, at least in UK, I'm saying it's very highly difficult to get people. The companies are struggling to get people, find people with this background. It just a year goes and they are not able to find people. I hope this should be a good motivation for people to get into this field. It's definitely a lucrative thing for you guys as well. Yeah, but quite interesting. I mean, from my perspective, it's a very interesting thing. I really enjoyed working on cybersecurity. Yeah, so it.
Yeah, of course, it is.
Does it answer the question?
Yeah, perfectly. Yeah, it is a good motivation too. Yeah.
All right, then I move to the next slide.
Just one more question, like this target authentication you told. So whether this will also have an impact on the OBD services to the authorities, because whether they also need to be authenticated before they run any services.
See, if you take the current way, the authentication happens is Service 27 Challenge Response Protocol. So if you connect your diagnostic tester to the vehicle, they firstly, before you can unlock the ECU and before you can carry out some critical functions such as secure flashing or download of an application, you would unlock the ECU with the challenge response protocol, which is done by Service 27.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the current way. However, this is not really secure because some OEMs use a very basic seed key mechanism, and it is very easily replaced. Possible somebody gets a dump of that, they can easily be able to break the system with the replay attacks. Another thing is the distribution of the key is another important aspect, which many of the people don't really understand unless they really get deep into it. As I said, the same key is getting installed in many testers, and same key is getting installed in many ECUs, because practically it's not possible to have one key per ECU, one symmetric key per ECU, because that's the way it is. If you see today's Service 27, it uses a CMAC algorithm, or some of them use even proprietary algorithms. So that's the biggest vulnerability we have. Now, I don't know what you mean by authentic. Is that what you're asking, or is it something more to it?
I mean, these authorities are there, right? So they will be checking if emissions are getting violated. So they connect to your vehicle. They just connect the OBD to the OBD port, the tester, and they retrieve the data. This is the legacy method. I mean, the current method. So going forward, the target authentication for secure diagnostic, whether the authorities also need to be authenticated before they get some data from your vehicle,
yes,
or the services would be without security.
No. So okay, now let's. I think it needs a little bit of understanding on the secure Service 29, which is the secure diagnostics. So what happens in secure Service 29 is, as I said, it is a certificate-based authentication mechanism, not a symmetric key-based method. So in this case, how the architecture is looking is that you have a ECU, you have a diagnostic tester as it is, that will still remain. However, the diagnostic tester will now also have a connectivity, online connectivity with the backend servers.
Okay.
So what happens is, when you want to unlock the ECU, with the service 29 implemented, the entire crypto functionality is moved from the testers. See, the testers, where do they sit? You have a number of testers, right? One is the development tester, one is the manufacturing tester, one is the roadside assistant tester, one is the service tester. And after sales, there are a number of testers each OEMs have for different phases of the life cycle of the ECUs. Life cycle of the vehicle. So for service testers, they sit in the service centers, right? It's a third party. It's not a OEM. So it's third party, which is outsourced to third parties. Now what they do, they don't want to have the entire crypto functionalities implemented inside the tester. So the entire crypto is getting moved to the backends. So how do they achieve security is like the tester would connect to the ECU, and all the crypto operations are actually happening inside the backend. So tester is just communicating. Firstly, the tester gets authenticated to the backend servers by a TLS, for example, or more secure mechanisms. They have TLS which will authenticate the tester with the backend servers. And then the entire crypto is getting transferred, security operations are getting transferred to the backend servers. So your target is just like a dummy, transferring information, postmaster, from backend servers, getting it from backend servers and transferring to these users. That is why it is more secure. And along with that, you have much more sophisticated techniques to unlock these issues.
Okay. So it's an online method of authentication.
Yes, yeah, it's going to be mostly the architecture that's currently looking out is it's going to be online method. You need to have online connectivity with backend servers.
So the authorities also need to have they would have the permissions or the certificates to authenticate themselves.
What do you mean by authorities here?
Like we have CARB, right, in the US.
Sorry?
In the US market, we follow the legislation called CARB, and in Europe it is U6. So
okay.
So they will check. They will connect to the tester and see if you are violating any emissions.
Okay, so the authorities. Okay, when you say authorities, it's regulation bodies. So what they see every time, this authorities come into picture. Now see, today we have UNEC. Okay, UNEC compliance for R1. It's new specs have come out from European Union, R155 and R156. So similarly, what they do is every time the authorities will not come and check, in the service centers whether the cybersecurity operations are performing as per their specs. What they do is before the vehicles are released to the market, the OEMs need to demonstrate that their cybersecurity operations, the cybersecurity processes are completely aligned with what is expected from the authorities or regulations. Okay. For example, this R155 is about secure software download, and the UNEC has defined a number of things. Okay, your backend should be secure, your diagnostic testers should be secured, your vehicle should be secured, software should be authenticated. Number of things they have put. Now, before the cars are released to the market, the OEMs need to demonstrate they will come for an audit. The authorities will come for an audit. They will, and there will be a formal, the presentation, where each of the clauses will be explained by the OEMs, how they are, what kind of security controls they have implemented. They need to produce a report right from the concept, the way it is implemented, and the way it is tested, and the testing reports. So complete documentation has to be there, and there might be a demonstration as well to prove that this is the way it is functioning. So once this audit is done, then the car is the authorities will give a certificate to the OEM that your cars are compliant to UNEC or C6 or whatever it is. So authorities will not come to every test center and to do these operations to check. So they might do some random checks whenever there is a need for doing it, but not every time. So it's now up to the OEMs. The OEMs will define the mechanisms. Every time there is a software update or service update needed, then they have to, as I said, the testers they move the entire security to the backend servers and the entire operations happen then. There's nobody monitoring it, but if needed, this monitoring happen once in a while.
Okay. Yeah, it's clear. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
No problem. Go to the next slide then. Okay. I just tried to list out some of the main automotive use cases here and the possible crypto algorithms that could be employed or which is already used in most of the cases. It's true. So we have a target authentication challenge response protocol, which is like service 27. In simple terms, like we have for seed, they use TRNG. I think in the proprietary, there are some very basic algorithms which would repeat after some sequence, but there are more sophisticated TRNGs inside the HSM, and they use one AS128 and CMAC algorithms to encrypt those random numbers and then generate a key, unlock key. So this is the algorithm used for secure unlocking. Then secure storage. For secure storage, mostly depending on the type of security you need. Let's say if you want confidentiality to be ensured, then you would encrypt the data, and also you would attach integrity word to it. Then you can use algorithms like CMAC, HSM, and ES also for encryption purpose. Then secure access, password protection, secure memory. So secure access is a mechanism to protect the ECU resources from unauthorized accesses. Or what they do is in certain cases, you can lock the flash. Okay, you can lock the flash so that even if somebody is able to access, able to bypass the target, bypass the port protections, they will not be able to corrupt the memory. So you can lock the memory with a password. So there are certain ways. Whenever you want to write something, there will be a mechanism to unlock it first, generate the passwords, unlock the memory, then perform the functions, and then lock the memory. Yeah. So that will be internal mechanism. So for however from the outside world somebody gets access, let's say, and they will not be able to unlock it. But secure access, and for this, it's a password generation is again internal way. It's again actually, as I've seen, it's a platform to platform, it differs how you want to lock the memory and how you want to protect the memory. Some can probably store in HSMs if they allow. Then you have secure diagnostics, which I just explained, PK-based certificate exchange mechanism, which is much more secure. And here they use mostly asymmetric crypto algorithms such as RSA2048. ECC is what I'm seeing more predominantly used because of its advantages as compared to RSA2048. Then you have secure communication, which just CMAC and AS128, mostly CMAC to attach the integrity word, and also they use the freshness counter and timestamp, etc., to protect from the replay attacks. Then you have a secure firmware download, where integrity check and authenticity check is done on the downloaded firmwares. In most of the cases, it is again asymmetric crypto algorithms such as RSA, PKCS 1.5 signature schemes, and ECDSA, electric digital signature authentication methods algorithm it is. Then you have incident logging. Incident logging is just logging those incidents and protected memory and be able to access it later. Then key and certificate management, and then it's all about generation of keys, distribution, storage of keys, and and then certificate generation of part of it. Then digital signatures. There are again ECDSA, RSA, PKCS 1.5, and number of other schemes. Then you have secure boot. Secure boot mostly implements CMAC because you would not want to, because if you go for RSA2048, then it would take a little longer time as compared to CMAC, which would probably be a bit of a problem at boot up, because there are some boot up times defined. It says you should not exceed 500 milliseconds boot up time. Suppose if you use RSA for the entire ECU software, then probably it might take 1 second. So it's just a decision of the OEM again. If you want more security, then you have to sacrifice on time. If you want lesser, then you have to go for a suitable algorithm. So these are some of the main use cases and corresponding algorithms that could be employed. Okay, I'll move to the next slide. I think already. So now important thing which would be you would like software signing. So this is one of the most important use cases today. So what is software signing? Software signing is about ensuring malicious firmwares are not getting downloaded onto the ECUs. So this has got a number of steps in it. So the first thing is signing the application itself, which needs to be downloaded onto the cars. So how does it happen? So the software signing is happening mostly inside the OEM backends, because software signing should basically it should be done in a secure environment. It should be done by the authorities only, like the OEM authorities. And okay, it should basically it involves a private key, which will be used to sign a software by using a certain crypto algorithms. Okay, and this signature is then attached to the software and then downloaded to the ECUs. That is why the key is the most important thing here is the private key, which is definitely stored inside the OEMs. If you store it somewhere else, then compromise of one key, as I said, will result in the whole fleet getting compromised. So that's about software signing. So software signing is a process whereby software image is signed by the OEM backend servers. A digital signature is created to prove that the client product software is legitimate. Digital signatures provided assurance for both software integrity and non-repudiation. So this is about signing a software. How it happens. Now, let's say you are a developer, the tier 2 company, you develop an application for the OEMs. And to sign the software, what you will do, you will give this application to the OEMs. OEMs will have a system, which wherein they will take the software, they will submit it to the backends. So here there are different ways you can implement either. So the steps I'm just showing here, how they implement it, again, it differs from OEM to OEM. So what they do, they just take the image. Firstly, they compute a hash of it, and the hash is one that is getting signed. So there are a number of digital signature algorithms such as RSA, PKCS 1.5, which I just showed in the other slide, and you have ECDSA, elliptic curve digital signature algorithms. So these are the predominantly used algorithms which are used to sign the softwares. I mean, when I say software, it's nothing but the hash which is getting signed. So the hash is getting signed, and the output of this is a signature, which is then getting attached. So you can see the difference here. At the beginning, I have just give me a moment. Yeah. In the beginning, you can see this is the unsigned application, right? And then you can see a signature is coming out of it here. So when you submit the software to the OEMs backends in whatever mechanisms, they will sign it and they will give this signed application to you. So all this is happening inside the OEM backends. Okay. And how do they sign it? So the most critical step is here. They will have a public-private key pair, and the private key is the one which is securely stored inside the backends, and this private key is used to sign the hash by using the suitable crypto algorithms, right? And that signature is then sent out to the tier 2 companies, which will then have a signed software with them. Okay, so signature need not be confidential. Okay, need not be confidential. So it can just be sent to the, but anyway, some certain amount of confidentiality, definitely integrity-wise, it is definitely needed, but it need not be confidential part. This is the process it is followed in the software signing. Any questions here? Okay, I'll move to the next slide. Software signing process, secure flashing, secure. So now the second step is, after the software is signed, then the second step is to transfer this signed software to the ECUs. Okay, what happens here? So the secure flashing consists of two important steps. One is application authentication using digital signatures, and then application integrity check. So authentication check is done on this software, which is signed software basically. So what they do, once you transfer the ECU signed software to the ECUs will verify the signature. That confirms that this software is coming from an authentic, genuine source. Okay, if the signature authentication verification fails, it is rejected. The second thing is the integrity check using the hash. So integrity check is about computing the hash for the entire software and then verifying it against the hash sent by the diagnostic test tool. So this is integrity. That is, integrity check is to make sure that there has not been any let's say errors during communication, or if the data has been modified or tampered with. So that's the other part of it. So these are the two things which are performed kind of predominantly in the secure flashing. So description is like this. a digital signature is created, which I just explained, by the backends for the software image, which is submitted to the backends by the tier 2 companies or software vendors. This helps to prove that the client provided software is legitimate. So first step is you sign the software. Second step is software signing certificates. And so what you do is once you get the signed software, in most of the cases, you would also get a certificate along with it. But again, it's optional. Like you could store the same certificate inside the ECUs. So signed software you'll transfer to the ECUs. And on the ECU side, the signatures is first confirmed. The signature is first verified by using the same crypto algorithm. Similar, I mean, PKCS generate PKCS verify will be the ones. PKCS verify will be the one which will be used to verify the signature. So once the signature verification is successful, then they go to the next step. Then they flash the contents, the data onto the ECU flash. Then the last step, they would, after the flashing is done, they will check the intake, they will recalculate the hash, and they will compute the hash, and they will compare the hash with the hash provided by the tool, so which makes sure that the data that is sitting inside the flash of the ECU is the same as what has been, what is expected. So these are the checks, which are performed on the ECU side to make sure that the software is from authentic source. So here are the steps. I just shown some of the pictorially here. You pass the signature, you pass the data, the software. So the ECUs will then verify signature by following the steps. And then after the flashing again, they will just generate a CMAC. CMAC is for the secure boot purposes. There's nothing to do with secure flashing. These are the steps basically that you do in secure flashing. This is similar to your Android application. This concept has been very much taken from the Android way of flashing, but definitely customized to suit the automotive world. But the concept-wise, I think, is similar to that. Any questions on this? I don't know. I mean, if I have explained it in this short time. I think you can just go back. I mean, you can come do some study on this if you're interested and come back with questions offline. Yeah, I'll be happy to help you out. Okay. I'll move to the next slide, which is the secure boot process. So as I mentioned earlier, secure boot helps to verify authenticity of the boot software at power up. So secure boot, so what happens is secure flashing, as I said earlier, secure flashing is only during the flashing time you verify the software and then you flash it. That's a one-time job. However, during the life of the vehicle, it's possible that the software sitting on the flash might be corrupted. Hence, you need to verify frequently to make sure that this software is not corrupted. Okay, that's why we have secure boot. So secure boot, if you see the previous slide, I have put a CMAC here. The last step of the secure flashing is generation of CMAC. This CMAC is the one which is used to verify the secure authenticity of the softwares. So what it does is secure boot can be realized either by using a micro-based solution, microcontroller-based software crypto-based solution. Okay. So however, HSM is most secure because it's much faster. So this is how it happens. System boots up. You got a HSM which does the authentication. The first, let's say see, if you look at the ECU, there are a number of softwares from top to bottom. One is the HSM, which is the first software which boots up. Then HSM starts, then it verifies the next software could be a boot manager, which is a small, tiny software. It has very little functionalities. After the boot manager, you have the bootloader, which is more sophisticated, having a lot of things like secure flashing and various other mechanisms in it, and diagnostics, of course. Then you have the application files, you have the calibration files. So this is like forming like an entire chain here. I'll show in the next slide the software images. So when system boots up, the HSM will verify this boot manager, the boot manager verifies bootloader, bootloader verifies application. So this way, let's say if while boot manager verifies bootloader, if it finds that the bootloader is not there is integrity problem with that, the system stops there. It doesn't go forward. It doesn't allow the bootloader to run, and just system will be waiting in the boot manager, which means there is a corruption in the bootloader, or the bootloader is corrupted, or does not exist, for example, and hence some action has to be taken. Similarly, bootloader finds that the application is not good. It stops the bootloader. and the user has to take some corrective action to reload the good application file. So this is the way the secure boot will work. This is some headers here, just to show the implementation point of view, how it works. You have a secure boot header. It includes start address, length, and MAC of the application. Start address will help to compute the MAC. Basically, secure boot is computing the MAC and then comparing with the stored MAC. So these two has to match. If they don't match, it means something is wrong. And this is the image. So this is how the secure boot image will look like. Okay, so I'll go to the next slide, which shows a little bit more details of the ECU software image. So as I said, this ECU software image will include so many things here: the boot manager, bootloader, application file, cal file, CCF file, etc. So all this will be there on the ECUs. Then you have the main core, which has got various interfaces on it, HSM interface, and various other softwares on it. Then you have HSM on it, which is supporting various keys, key slot area, and also the crypto engine and other parts of it. I think the most interesting, important thing for you to understand is I just wanted to show this one here, the boot manager and the other softwares, and how the secure boot will work. So basically, authentication starts the HSM and goes on until the last piece of software. So that's a security view system. And then this is the software architecture view, if you like. You can see there are a number of bootloader components here: transport layer, programming executive, flash drivers. Then this is the security bit of it: security manager, which can have both the hardware interface, software interface. Then you have some drivers. Yeah, so that's how it is. Then I go to the next slide. So secure bootloader main features. So here are the number of things. Which a typical bootloader will have: secure boot. I explained things: secure unlocking, you are aware; secure flashing. Then it will have rollback prevention. Rollback prevention is to making sure that older versions are not downloaded to the ECUs, which is important because this could be another vulnerability which can be exploited if you download older versions. So auto rollback prevention is what we call. Then you have a security bypass. This is not really there in most of the things. Just I put it in because I find it in one of the places, but it's used mostly in the development time. Then you have incident logging for firewalls and IDP systems. You have HSM-based systems. Then you have a software-based crypto, because in some cases, if you have a low-end HSMs, they don't support all the crypto algorithms, which means you need to go for a software-based crypto libraries. And it is the hybrid systems do exist in the software market. The automotive systems today. They have a combination of both hardware-based as well as software-based solutions. Then you have secure diagnostics, which includes PKI-based authentication. So these are the secure bootloader features. Some of them, I think most of them you will find, and maybe a few extra additional ones, plus or minus, in some of the bootloaders. And then, that's it. I think I'm almost done with this. And finally, some tech papers which you can refer. I've written some tech papers and some forums. Security in connected cars for one of the it is recently published paper. And then recently in November 2020, I published a paper on telematics wire, on how a car can be hacked. So you can just have a look at it. It might help you explains a little more in detail, And then recently I published a patent on during the vehicle commissioning, how keys and certificates can be distributed to ECUs. That's one of the, it is not still published. It's been submitted for approval. So these are some of the things you can just go through it offline. I think I'm done with this. If anybody has got any questions, I think we have got a few minutes left, I guess. Sahil bhai, is that correct?
Oh, yeah. Any questions from the audience?
It's not question related to the topic, but it's off the topic. How do we get into this? Like, what is the next step for us to get into this automotive cybersecurity? Like, I have experience in automotive, but I have mostly worked on application software and was working mostly on the mill SIL testing and SIL platform-based testing. So for a professional like me, how do I start my career in automotive cybersecurity?
So
how do I switch?
you're from testing background, is it right?
Yes, some part of my career I was in development, but now mostly I'm in testing.
So you're looking for testing opportunities in cybersecurity. Is that what you're looking for? Okay. So from a testing point of view, see, I think you don't need to get into the nitty-gritties of cybersecurity. I mean, crypto things and all. As I said, there are a number of crypto algorithms. See, for every security mechanism, you need to have some use crypto algorithms. So you don't need to really get into the details of it. But I think the first step what we should do is you should understand the various crypto algorithms. Just give me a minute. Yeah. You need to just understand. First thing is what are the crypto algorithms? I explained to you, I think, in the previous slides here. One of the previous slides. What algorithms are used for what purpose? This kind of thing you can understand at the crypto levels, what they are used. Then you need to understand the various automotive use cases, which are listed down here. What they are and, how to exactly they implemented. I think at the generic level, if you understand that, it's really helpful because as a tester, if you say, for example, you get a bootloader for testing, you will definitely find all of these mechanisms implemented, right? And you would be expected to test all of them. So for this, you need to have a good understanding of the automotive use cases. So at a system level, for a testing point of view, I think your understanding what you need to have is at the use case level and system level. Okay, and a little bit on the function level as well. And you need not go at the the implementation level and how it is done. How part is not important for you. I think system level focus is enough. So just to know at the concept level, what are each of this? What is authentication, for example? So it's about authenticating this client and server, and different mechanisms will be used, like unlock, service 27, service 29, etc. So you should start getting into it, getting into that high level details. That is the first step. So I think if you demonstrate that, yes, I understand the cybersecurity, to this extent, I understand the concepts, and I know a little bit about the crypto algorithms used, I think that would be the first step. I think definitely with that background, you should be able to find a breakthrough into it. But key is learning these concepts. But definitely what you can do is you can actually the good way to start is a bootloader if you are in automotive thing, and you have a number of specifications available from different OEMs. Do you work with different OEMs? Do you have access to all the specs from different OEMs?
No.
Yeah, then you should try to get in contact with some people who are working closely with OEMs who have access to all these specifications. What they do is, in these specifications you will find a more detailed explanation of each concept, because in the specifications they will tell you what is this concept, how it should be implemented in the issue. If you just read through it, if you just pick one concept, just understand in detail. You pick one spec, and you will get a lot of materials in the internet, right? And that's you have a lot of videos to watch as well. So you need to go slowly. You just pick up one concept, take the specifications. You have a number of OEMs and talking about the same concept in a different way they implement, but concept remains the same. So you should get that, and I think you have to go step by step, understanding these concepts. That's it. I think it's not rocket science. It's I think it's interesting and easy to learn also.
Yeah, hello Sinwai. One question from my side.
Yeah.
Yeah, related to this crypto algorithms, like let us say as part of the development activities for security access related implementation, if we need to take care. So this crypto, all these algorithms, do we really need to know internals of this crypto algorithms, or is this comes from some standards and we can directly
this
make
comes
use of?
definitely from standards, which I just said, NIST and FIPS.
Okay.
So again, it depends to what level you need to know. Again, depends on your interest and what you are looking to get into. So as brother just asked, about his interest about testing. So the testing person, you need to know that AES-128. AES-128 is used for encryption of data.
Okay.
CMAC is nothing but a signature used with a symmetric key mechanism. Similarly, RS-248. It is also used for for encryption purpose, but predominantly not. It's meant for signatures and meant for distribution of keys and like that. So you need to know at a very high level what each of this algorithm is. But if you are a developer, you need to just go one step beyond. Okay. You need to know what is the AES-128 algorithm. Okay. And what kind of parameters it expects. Let's say you want to encrypt a piece of data. So what would you pass to it? You would need a data to be passed. You would need a key, symmetric key, the secret key, and you would pass the length of it. So these are the parameters that are expected to the crypto algorithm. So as a developer, what you need to know is, okay, if you want to develop a software, a secure communication software or a secure bootloader, you will be given a library, either HSM library, crypto library, or you will be given a software crypto library, and you will be given the prototypes, function template will be known to you. Just need to use it, and you need to know what parameters to pass, and once you pass those parameters to the crypto algorithms, the output you will get, whatever output it is supposed to give, it will give you. So if you want to do a little more detailed understanding in crypto algorithms, there are a number of open source libraries available in the internet. If you check for crypto algorithm library, you can actually put a key on it, whatever key you want, and you can put a data. It will encrypt and give the output to you. This is a very simple way of learning things.
Okay. Is there any specific website for that, or we can just Google it and get it?
I don't know, but you can check in the internet. If you're not able to find, let me know. But I did it quite long ago. I mean, in the early days of cybersecurity. In fact, I was the one with a small team. I implemented the crypto algorithms in C language. It's a small team of six months experience guys. Imagine. So that's not really complex. If you can just imagine. The entire crypto algorithms like AES, CMAC, TRNG, and RSA. All these algorithms with a small team of 2 or 3 members, we implemented it. And during those days, what happens is, to test it, it's very simple. You have the standard test vectors. If you look at any of the NIST specifications, let's say for AES, you'll have a test vectors given. So for a given data and for a given key, the output has to be exactly the same. Let's say for data ABC and for a key 1, 2, 3, the output has to be XYZ only. It can't be different, because the underlying mechanism for AES-128 will remain the same. Okay, so that's how you test it. So if you take the test vectors, I can send you, but I think it should not be difficult for you to find out some online tools. If you can't find, just let me know. But I think you will definitely be able to find out easily.
Yeah. And could you give me a brief insight about this key management?
Not today, definitely not today, because I'm running. I need to go out for something now. Not because already I think we just planned. We need to plan a different session for that. Key management is a big whole topic on its own.
Okay. Yeah.
It involves various aspects like generation of keys and distribution, storage. How do you securely store and all that thing? But I think now I don't really have the slides with me. To discuss that. It's a whole, it's a completely different topic altogether. That's what I'm saying. Cybersecurity is not a small area as it sounds. For each of these concepts, we have different teams inside the OEMs who would take care of this concept. Okay, so that's a different topic and it needs a separate session.
Yeah. Sure, Hussain bhai. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. I think with the interest of time, I think if no one has any question, I would also request, because your team is very enthusiastic. They wanted to know more about cybersecurity. Maybe if Hussain bhai can give some more sessions on this to the people who are working in this and who are more interested to explore about cybersecurity and become a cybersecurity professional in automotive world. I think I think that will be a great support to the people around here.
Yeah, I mean, we can just pick up one or two use cases and try to have some sessions sometime later. So because it will take some time for me to put everything together. Let's see. Hopefully, inshallah, in the because next month, I think next month, as I said, I'm planning to come to India for some time. So I think next month will be. I really don't want to do anything with my system. So hopefully next year, maybe inshallah, we'll plan something. Maybe one or two concepts which is of interest. You can just get some, collect some data from people, and if you can tell me what is of interest to them, because one thing is that I'm not AutoSAR expert. So if you ask me to put something on the AutoSAR, like SecOC and PDOSX, that level of things I cannot give. I'm not really a AutoSAR implementer. So on the cybersecurity concepts wise, for example, how a key management system would look like, what kind of mechanisms, what kind of techniques OEMs would use, and how a security diagnostic systems would work, secure communication TLS, how would it work. So such, and the concept level is what, because I'm more of that level architecture and design, is what I've done, not really AutoSAR level implementation. We can pick up definitely. I can, in fact, if somebody is interested in knowing what crypto algorithms, one session we can have to talk about various crypto algorithms, parameters, where they are used, and what are the, when do you select? The other important aspect is we have a number of crypto algorithms, right? Huge number of algorithms, and it's important to know what algorithm to select in what situation. Yeah. So that is another topic which could just, we can have a half an hour session, maybe short sessions, just discuss about that, and maybe try to show how the input and output would look like. What hash, for example, one brother asked, what is the hash algorithm? So just to give an understanding and try to relate it to the real world applications, you can just show what is hash, what is intention, what is the use of it, where it is used. So something like that, we can maybe plan something, short sessions in the future, inshallah.
Okay, sure. Hussain Bhai, I think Zamir Ahmad is having some question. He's not able to speak. I mean, he is getting some message. He's not been allowed to speak. Can you just give him the...
Do you have a message in chat?
Can you message on chat, Zamir Ahmad?
Okay. Saif Abrar was the host, right? I mean,
yeah, now you are the host, I think.
So I need to give permission to
Zamir Ahmad.
Zamir Ahmad. Okay, how would I do that?
Just if you go, yeah, there are 3 dots. Just if you click on those 3 dots.
1 minute. Yeah, on the right side.
Yeah, on the right side. Then there will be an unmute option.
Pause recording, stop recording, breakout, live, feedback, share and share sound, meeting info. I can't find a place to give access.
Okay, he says if you're okay, he will contact offline.
Mute. Speakers. No, I can't find anybody here in the mute section as well. Maybe you can send a message.
Yeah.
So I think Zamir Ahmad here. Zamir Ahmad, yeah. Asked to mute. Are you able to? Start video. Cost. No, I don't know how it works. No, they just let him drop a message. He's not able to talk, no?
Yeah, he's not able to talk. Maybe some issue. Zamir Bhai.
Somebody has muted him.
Yeah, better you chat or the chat, or maybe I think Hussain Bhai, your contact is there. I mean, can he contact you or the email?
Yeah, please just drop an email. I whenever I get time, inshallah, I'll just reply to it.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, right, I think if you are done with it, then thanks everybody for joining.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was really a very informative and knowledgeable session for us, and we really got a lot of things about automotive cybersecurity. Thanks for your time, and also I thank people who have joined the session. And maybe in future we can organize like how we came across some requirements from this group with the by getting time from Mr. Hussain Bhai.
Okay, inshallah.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Hussain Bhai. Thank you for your time and efforts. Yeah,
no
nice
problem.
session it was.
Thank you, Hussain Bhai.
All right, take care, guys.
Thank
Allah
you.
Hafiz.
Jazakallah khair. Allah Hafiz.